Greetings, good evening, and welcome to Life's Important Questions, the show that is designed to ask life's most important, pressing, and urgent questions. Welcome to the show. If you're here on Facebook, say hello. If you're watching on YouTube, say hello. If you're here on LinkedIn, say hello. And if you're listening on the podcast, please comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. I hope you're well. So today we've got a question that's come in from Susan from Stevenage. I'm just going to adjust my camera for those of you watching. Susan from Stevenage messaged in the question, how do I stop comparing myself to others? It's a very good question. Brené Brown, the amazing, magnificent Brené Brown. If you're not familiar with her work, you must check her out. Brené Brown says comparison is the thief of happiness. When you process that for a second and think about that, like in the world that we live right now in social media, as I do this live broadcast, I'm literally going to pull out my phone and scroll through a platform such as Instagram. And it's very easy to, I'm seeing wrestling, big wrestling fan, by the way. I'm seeing messages about creating funnels. I'm seeing Gavin Gillibrand, who's a great friend on social media. I'm seeing personal training schools. I'm seeing life coach organizations. I'm seeing 14-day challenges. I'm seeing friends in the bath. That's weird. I really am seeing a picture of a friend in the bath. All kinds of marketing. Guys, I need your help. People dancing, all kinds of stuff. The world is very noisy, and it's very easy to have your attention pulled left, right, and center. And it's very easy to get confused about what you should be focusing on and what you shouldn't be focusing on. And so my short answer to this question, I'm kind of going to give you three things that I do, three things that I've done to protect my mental health, to protect my emotional well-being from comparing myself to others. There's a cliched saying, which I love, which is stay in your lane. It's so easy to look at somebody else's outsides and think their life is better than you. It's amazing how pre-pandemic, I could be sat at home watching television, longing to be on holiday, scrolling through social media. And because my neurology is focused on the question, focused on the statement, I wish I was on holiday, all of a sudden it seems like everyone, AKA 3 people out of thousands on social media, appear to be on holiday. It's really important that you really audit what you allow in to your space. You audit what you allow into your mind, because it will affect your self-esteem. It will affect your self-worth if you don't really consciously decide what you're going to allow in to your mental space. Like I said, if you're here and if you're listening, obviously on podcast, this is kind of irrelevant. But if you're here, if you're watching live, drop in the comments, say hello, give me a howdy. If you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook or Instagram, give me a hi and let me know that you're here. So there's 3 things, Susan, specifically, and for those of you that are watching who, if right now you feel that comparing yourself to others isn't your problem, then this probably isn't going to be as vitally important for you right now. However, if you're the kind of person who finds yourself, drawn to this video, drawn to this podcast, because you yourself feel like comparing yourself to other people is something that you have a tendency to do. Just to clarify, I'm not sat here on my metaphorical guru stool stroking my metaphorical beard. I wish I had a good beard, by the way. I don't have. I have a terrible little puby beard. I've never said that before. Then I'm not, because I still to this day find myself comparing myself to others. And actually doing this podcast is a really good thing for me, because I always say, you got to teach people what the lessons that you really need to learn yourself, because then you're more likely to apply them. So 3 things for Susan, and for anyone else that's listening or watching. If you find yourself comparing yourself to other people, and this is going to be a really, really, really important episode for you to listen to. Really going to be an important one. So I've got 3 things that I'm going to share with you that I found have helped me, that have helped the hundreds of clients that I've coached over the years, from people in Hollywood movies to CEOs of multinationals, various walks of life, athletes, pop stars, things that I've helped and coached them on. I'm going to share with you 3 things that you can do to reduce your comparing to other people. The first one is where I really want to start, which is knowing the difference between modeling and comparing. So knowing the difference between modeling and comparing. Now, in school, I don't know about you, but in school, I was told copying was bad. Stop copying, Miles. You'll get detention. Stop copying, Miles. We'll rip up your test. Copying was bad in school. In the world around us, copying, or as I learned in neuro-linguistic programming, they eloquently call it modeling. Modeling is actually really appropriate and socially acceptable. In fact, modeling is the fastest way to succeed. Tony Robbins says success is a science. You know, if you want to learn to drive, get a driving instructor and effectively do what they tell you to do, and you'll eventually, if you're anything like me, 3rd time lucky, eventually you pass your test, right? So modeling is a socially acceptable thing, very normal, very healthy, but it's very different to comparing. Comparing is looking at where somebody else is and then all of a sudden beating yourself up because you're not where they are. And saying it as it is, you don't know the path that they've walked in. It's amazing how many people, when I ever get into a state of comparing myself to other people, it's amazing. It always seems to happen in the weeks after. Someone says, "Oh, I wish I was doing what you're doing." And I remind myself that people are comparing themselves to you just as much as you maybe compare yourself to other people. But either way, it is unhealthy. Dan Sullivan talks about this thing called the gap versus the gain. The gap is, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I've got that much money. I'll be happy when I've got those new clients. I'll be happy when I've got that car. I'll be happy when I've got that XYZ. I'll be happy when I've got that amount of money in the bank account. That's the gap. The problem with the gap is we miss everything we've gained. We miss everything that we could already be appreciative for that is already in our life. The health, God forbid, the fact that you're alive. So be really consciously aware. And this really, all Life's Important Questions is about is being aware. This doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden going to stop comparing yourself. But when you know the differences in comparing and modeling, oh, right, okay, so comparing is bad, but modeling is good. I have a business mentor. He tells me what to do to get to a certain level that I want to get to in business. But it's very difficult for him to kind of tell me what to do in terms of marriage, because he's married to someone different and I'm married to someone different. That's more of an intuitive thing that you can be coached on. Obviously, there are great marriage counselors and coaches out there, but it's a different thing, right? It's a different thing. You don't know what work someone's done to have that marriage, and comparing yourself isn't going to be as healthy as, say, modeling and actually going, well, let's say you are looking at someone who has a great relationship and you're maybe not in one. Maybe you might go, well, I wonder what their recipe is that makes them so successful. Like, rather than comparing, ask the question, I wonder why they're so good at that. Maybe it's because they've done more work than me. Maybe it's just because they've invested more time in that area. But it's really important that you know the difference between comparing, which is unhealthy, and modeling, which is actually the fastest route to succeed. So it's really important to know the difference. Second, this is my kind of personal favorite. I've decided to call this, the second one you need to stop comparing yourself to other people is what I've politely called Jordan indicators. Jordan indicators. And by Jordan, I do mean the basketball icon that is Michael Jordan. You see, if you didn't watch the Netflix documentary about him and the Chicago Bulls last year, The Last Dance, incredible documentary. One of the great things I've learned about Michael Jordan is when he was asked in an interview, what do you think the interviewer said? Michael, how have you made it to the best in the league? How are you so much better than everybody else? How have you got so much more drive than everybody else, even though you've won so much already? To which Michael replied, the problem with everybody else in the league is, he said, they're comparing themselves to me. And he said, I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm comparing myself to me this time last year. And then he goes on to tell a very specific story about how he was playing a side called the Detroit Pistons. And before he arrived in Detroit for the game, he watched the game back of him playing in Detroit, not even in Chicago, the exact carbon copy game in Detroit the year before. He watched that game back and saw how he played, how many points he got, how many rebounds, how many assists. And he wrote it down on his hand on the drive or the flight to Detroit. And he said he just focused on that. And he said, all I've got to do in this game today, my target for this game today, is not to get the most points on the court or the most assists or the most rebounds. He said, all I've got to do is beat that score that is on my hand that I got in Detroit this time last year. And I thought that was absolutely remarkable. One of the things I've been doing this year is I have a whiteboard in the kitchen, and it says 2020 versus 2021. And it's got a list of actions, things that I've told myself that I've got to do this year that will better my best of 2020. And what a lot of people do is they're so busy looking at what other people are doing, when in actual fact, the fastest way for you to stop comparing yourself to other people is look at how you did in 2020. Like literally at the time of recording this episode, it's the 9th of March, 2021. Look back to the 9th of March, 2020 and go, how far have I come? Ask yourself the question, like, what have I achieved in the past 12 months? Because whenever I take the time to do that, I go, whoa, it is remarkable when you take the time to actually analyze your past 12 months and look at your own Jordan indicators. Look at you, March the 9th, 2021 versus March the 9th, 2020. How does it compare? How do you compare? How does your character compare? How does your attitude compare? Some areas you might say, oh, I'm not doing as well. I was healthier this time last year than I am now. But I guarantee if you look hard enough, there are areas that you've improved. Look at them, study them, analyze them, and then reward yourself for the progress that you've made. Fastest way to stop comparing yourself to others is to have what I call Jordan indicators. Compare yourself to you last year, you versus you. Stay in your lane. It is the only comparison you ever need, is you beating your best. There's something on our stairwell that says, all you got to do today is better than you did yesterday. I don't know the exact wording, but it's all you got to do is do better than you did yesterday. And it's such an important, I'm just going to plug in my charger, such an important distinction for me, is knowing all I've got to do today is better than I did yesterday. Be a better father, be a better husband, be a better coach, present myself maybe more authentically on video. Better than I did yesterday is all you can do. Jordan indicators. Third and final thing for you to stop and reduce the amount of time you spend comparing yourself to others, Susan, and for anyone that's relating to this and feeling like this resonates with you, by the way. If you're listening on podcast, put in the comments, let me know how this is resonating with you, what your key learning is. If you're watching live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, put in the comments, like what are you getting from this? What are you learning from this episode? What is a key takeaway? And how are you now going to actually implement and integrate what you're learning? It's all well and good getting more knowledge, but I always say, knowledge isn't power unless it's implemented. It's so important that you implement if you're going to listen and you actually want to take action on something. Third, final thing to help you to stop comparing yourself to others is what I call introspection, aka the gut check. What this means is taking the time to, this is what I do. If ever there's something that I'm unsure about, or if ever I feel some internal conflict, I open my phone and I write a note to myself that's titled gut check. And the reason why I use the word gut is because I kind of mean gut as in gut intuition, not like I need a Five Guys, although I would love a Five Guys right now. And what I do is I just date it and I put in what is my gut telling me to do right now. In fact, one of the things here it says was focus on your Facebook lives, grow that organic engagement again. That's like real gut check. Stay in your lane. See, there you go. There's a real life example back on 2nd of March, just 7 days ago. 2nd of March. I've got some stuff about reducing carbohydrates. Gut check on the 26th of February. Remember, you need to rest today. Get to bed earlier. Here's why this is important. No mentor, no coach, no guru can tell you that stuff. That requires a gut check. That requires you to go inside yourself and find out what is truly right for you. You know, I'm a coach for a living. You know, I'm going to invite you to become a certified coach. Our next free course is on the 27th of March at the time of doing this live. The reason why I feel that coaching is such a powerful skill and why it's different to mentoring is because what coaching does is it asks questions, asks really powerful questions to allow another person the space to come up with their answers from within. And what's happening in the world today, going on social media, scrolling on news feeds on Facebook and Instagram, is you're getting a lot of data. And what that data is doing is it's actually in some ways polluting or dumbing down the inner voice, the gut intuitive voice inside you that actually has pretty much 80 to 90% of the right answers for what you need to do to make your life better. Most of the things that you need to do to make your life better are really, really, really simple, common sense things, but that are not common practice. And so a gut check, which is a note in your phone, which is literally anytime you feel any pang of inner conflict, you go in your phone and you write gut check and you write a note to yourself as if you are being mentored by a future version of you, fullest potential unleashed 20 years into the future. Come back with Doc Brown in the DeLorean. Marty! That's the Back to the Future crazy fan in me. Has come back and given you pearls of wisdom that no mentor could give you, pearls of wisdom that only you could give you because you know what's right for you. Nobody else does. So the third thing that you must do if you want to reduce the amount of time you spend comparing yourself to others is you must check in with your heart and your gut intuition more often. It is something that over the past few years, I haven't done enough. Too busy listening to ideologies and conflicted opinions and this mentor says this and this coach, this guru says this. No one knows what will make you happy. Tony Robbins says success is a science. We've already talked about that. But the fulfillment is an art. No one can teach you how to paint. A driving instructor can teach you where to go. Sorry, a driving instructor can teach you how to drive, but you've got to be the one that decides where you want to go. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, like, comment, share it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and I'll see you next time on Life's Important Questions. God bless you. Take care.